So fundamentally action we categorize by six. One is the chronology of action, vasana, thought, desire, action. Distinct and different from vasana, thought, desire, action is the gunas, the sattva, rajas and tamas. Now these two have to be understood separately. When you are sitting and studying, don't make a connection. Don't try to connect how sattva, rajas, tamas is related to action. Never make that connection. Or if at all you want to make some connection, go by there is a portion in the Vedanta treatise, end of part A, what is known as personality chart. There he talks about the sattvic action, rajasic action, tamasic action, whatever be. I am not getting into those details now. So, if at all you want to understand something in relation to that, you can understand, you can refer that portion, Mira. But ideally speaking, understand them separately. Don't try to mix up. For when you mix up, neither you will understand sattva, rajas, tamas in relation to action, nor the chronology of action.
Okay, sir. So we shouldn't attempt to understand these two together. We should leave them as separate concepts.
Yes, leave them as separate. If at all you want to understand what are the two separate aspects, understand it like this. Vasanas determine the action. The gunas determine the quality of the action. Understand it like that. If at all you want to make a connection, likes and dislikes drive the action. Gunas determine the quality of the action. For example, when I am speaking, why do you have to come and speak? It's a desire. So it is the desire to talk that drives the action. Are you able to follow? It is the desire that drives the action. The quality of the action will be determined by the sattva, the rajas and tamas.
Yes, sir.
If at all you want to connect the two, understand desires, likes and dislikes, vasanas as the driving force behind action. Gunas determine the quality of the action. So from the standpoint of the action, in some context we talk about the gunas, in some context we talk about the vasanas, the likes and dislikes, right? So understand it in that way, it becomes easy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Is it okay, Meera?
Yes, sir. Sir, one more question, sir.
Yes. One second, hold on. Yes. Is it the same question or? Okay. Yes. Yes, Meera.
Sir, this is not related fully. It's another question with another concept.
Yes.
We hear about Shraddha.
Yes.
Now, we understand Shraddha is the effort we put in to pursue something.
Yes.
And always the something that we connect with Shraddha is the higher pursuit.
Yes.
And is there a possibility that a person who is fixated on, let's say, a material pursuit,
yes,
who does it with full focus and attention, obviously gains the material pursuit, but
correct,
can he has Shraddha in the material pursuit, or when we use the term Shraddha, it is always only with the higher goal?
The question that Meera is asking again is Shraddha related only to the higher, or can Shraddha be related to something materialistic also? Like a person can have a materialistic goal and he can pursue that with dedication and gets it. So can we say that person has Shraddha in the materialistic case? Is it okay? That's a question, no, Meera?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Now, get the definition of Shraddha correctly. Shraddha is the consistency in pursuing something which is unknown. Only when the element of unknown is there and you still pursue it, you can call it as Shraddha. Though people may use very loosely, nowadays people may use the word Shraddha in relation to all actions in a very loose way. Like, people say, full Shraddha Voda, I work in the office. Are you able to follow? So people say, I work with full Shraddha in the house. Now, Shraddha means an effort that you put. Shraddha means the consistency of effort in pursuing something which is unknown, where you do not know whether you will get the result or not, but still you pursue it with dedication. That is Shraddha. Where you have some idea about the results, we only use the word dedication and sincerity, but not Shraddha. Shraddha is something more deeper than dedication and sincerity. What is the deeper aspect of Shraddha? You pursue something which you are incapable of understanding, but a higher authority is guiding you, asking you to do, you do. That is Shraddha. Again I repeat. Shraddha means you do not understand it by yourself, but a higher authority as in the Shastras is telling you, a higher authority as in the Guru is telling you. Therefore, they have told you to do. Most of the time, you may not be able to understand the reason behind it, but you still pursue it. That is called Shraddha. Where you are able to understand what you get, you cannot call it as Shraddha. Even though in a very loose term, you can still call it as Shraddha. Even though loosely you can call it as Shraddha, but in the context of what we call as Shraddhavan Labate Jnanam. The Shraddhavan Labate Jnanam meaning we can't restrict Shraddha only to, we can't say anything materialistic where the result is tangible. It's hard work and dedication and sincerity, but not Shraddha. Shraddha comes when the element of unknown is there. Because of the element of unknown being there, Shraddha becomes that much difficult. Rest of the things are comfortable, but Shraddha is very difficult because of this. So loosely we can say a person is pursuing Shraddha, pursuing material things with Shraddha, but the strict definition of Shraddha is always in relation to something unknown which is higher. Because the unknown is higher. For example, to put it in a very gross way, I work with Shraddha for 1 month, sir. I know very well that salary is going to be credited at 25th, no? Imagine a situation where you have to work with that dedication and Shraddha and hard work and everything that you do now, and you really don't know whether salary will be credited to you or not. Then if you are able to do that, that is called Shraddha. So the dedication part is the same, the sincerity part is the same, the hard work part is the same. The difference comes as in whether you are able to conceive something as a result, or you are able to understand that result per se is unknowable, but still I will pursue.
Yes, sir.
The Shastra says Tattvamasi. Now, you just have to have Shraddha in that statement. No way you can understand that statement. The Shastra says, the Guru says, Tattvamasi. You are that. The Shastra says that. Now, till you get there, it is Shraddha only. Till you get there, there is no, at least halfway through, ஏதாவது அந்த தத்துவமசி பாதியாவது புரியுமா சார், ஏதாவது ஒரு இண்டிகேஷனாவது கிடைச்சிருமான்னா, till the last step there is nothing. But you still pursue that. That pursuit is called that dedicated pursuit. In that the dedicated, sincere, hard work you put with the faith and conviction on the higher is called Shraddha. So once you understand the definition of Shraddha clearly, you will know where it fits in, where it doesn't fit. Though, I am just repeating myself again, though in a limited way, people use the word Shraddha in materialistic activities also. I worked with Shraddha in the office. People can say that, no. People say that, no. They are not wrong. But the strict definition of Shraddha is not there. And the Upanishadic statement, which Krishna quotes in the Bhagavad Gita also, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. The person of Shraddha alone gains knowledge. Why you need Shraddha for knowledge is because, what is the definition of ignorance? The definition of ignorance is, you think you know when you do not know. Isn't it? We have defined it. So you think you know, but how are you able to convince yourself that you don't know and pursue something which is unknown? That ability, that capacity to pursue that which is beyond your ability to comprehend now, which is beyond your ability to grasp now, but you do it with dedication, but you do it with sincere effort, because it is said by the higher. This is called Shraddha. Are you okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Take this definition and apply, you will understand.
Yes, sir.
Shraddha means this. That's why I started talking about Shraddha, because when he is going to talk about Yajna Karma, what we need to understand Yajna Karma is Shraddha. Because Shraddha, Yajna Karma is not an understanding. Yajna Karma is the doing. So when you have to do it, there are times where you may not be able to understand it. But still you have to do it. It is called Shraddha. For example, take the current situation itself, Meera. Shastra says, be hygienic throughout as a lifestyle, no?
Yes, sir.
When Shastra said, they said, no, these people are all very fussy people, they are all very discriminatory, they are all very backward, we are all modern people, we live life the way that we want.
Yes, sir.
We didn't have Shraddha in that statement to pursue hygiene even when we are all right.
Yes, sir.
Now that we are having a crisis, the whole world is talking about through achara maintain a social distance, and nobody accepted, no?
Yes.
When the government says do social distancing, we have to sit down, no? Though we don't understand, but we still sit inside the house. This is Shraddha. Are you able to follow? Though the mind says go out, though the sensor says I don't like to be inside, at least I just want to go out, catch some fresh air and come back, at least for 10 minutes. I say no to all that and sit inside. That pursuit is called Shraddha. Are you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
So, Shraddha is in pursuing that which is the higher, which is unknown at this point of time. Just because it is unknown, I don't stop doing it. I continue to do it as I am trying to understand it also. It is a practice of Shraddha.
Yes, sir.
Again I repeat. Again I repeat, you practice something, though you don't understand it now, but you
continue practicing.
Continue practicing. That is true.
Yes, sir.
Like, I remember this, I distinctly remember when we were doing the course in the academy, any situation, any difficulty that we all have, we all used to have our own difficulties, we all used to have our own doubts, uncertainties, anything, everything. And we go and ask Swamiji, what do we do? He said, follow the schedule. Standard answer that he always gives is follow the schedule. Now, we come back and quite a few used to ask, what is it in that schedule that it is magical? Is following it, though you don't understand, that turns magic. Last example for this. From when the child goes to school, for the parent, sending the child to school is not Shraddha, is understanding.
Yes, sir.
When the child walks into the school, not knowing what is the purpose of education, what it is going to get, blah, 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 still the child does the study, understanding with dedication, that is called Shraddha.
Yes.
Are you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, understand it in this way, it becomes easy.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Sir, looks like Ranganathan sir has raised his hand. I don't know if he has a question.
Yes.
No question, sorry. I just raised no question.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Now, there is one more, there is another question in relation to verse number 20. How does, who is a yogi, what is his obligation, how to mature to yogi, who is a sannyasi, what is his obligation, how to mature to sannyasi. The question. Again I repeat. Who is a yogi, what is his obligation, what if one does, he can become a yogi. Second part of the question. Who is a sannyasi, what is his obligation, how to mature to become a sannyasi. In verse 3 of chapter 3, he gives the distinction. Four categories: Bhogi, Yogi, Sannyasi, Jnani. The humans can be categorized into these four stages. A Bhogi, na Bhoga, one who is interested in Bhoga, enjoyment, sensual enjoyment, worldly enjoyment. From Bhogi to Yogi, Yogi to Sannyasi, Sannyasi to Jnani. First maturity is from Bhogi to a Yogi. You move from Bhoga to Yoga. And then you move from Yogi to Sannyasi. And then you move from Sannyasi to Jnani. Jnani means enlightened one. Now the question is not in relation to the enlightened one. The question is, who is a yogi? A yogi is one moving from the purpose of life. A bhogi understands the purpose of life is enjoyment only. Yogi means he tries to move away from bhoga and attaches himself to something higher. He is a yogi. Are you able to follow? A yogi is one who tries to move away from the path of bhoga and attaches himself to something that is higher. And he continues the pursuit of yoga, he becomes a sannyasi. and sannyasi turns into a jnani. Now, who is a yogi? Who has just left the path of bhoga. Please understand, when we say he has left the path of bhoga, doesn't mean he is established in yoga. The mind and senses are still drawing him to bhoga. He is fighting that and tries to stick to the path of yoga. He is a yogi. The mind is still tempting him back to the senses. The senses, the mind is still tempting him back to go back to the world only. He is resisting that force, fighting that force, and is sticking to the effort he is putting to part of the yoga. He is a yogi. A sannyasi is one who has completely left bhoga, not at all tempted by bhoga anymore. His mission in life is only two. The mission in life becomes only two. Number one, to attain moksha, to attain liberation. Number two, serve the Guru who helps for that. He is a sannyasi. So a yogi is one who is tempted by bhoga, but he tries to make an effort to stick to the path of yoga. That person is called a yogi. Are you able to follow? A person, Arjuna is a yogi. Arjuna is still trying to be a yogi. That's why doubts keep coming again and again and again. How many ever times Krishna says, Arjuna keeps coming back with the same doubt because the mind and the senses are still driving him back. So the struggle for Arjuna is from a bhogi to a yogi. Nachiketas or a Shvetaketu is or a Janaka is a sannyasi where their only aim and purpose of life is moksha, nothing else. Are you able to follow the definitions? Understand the definitions clearly first. Once the definitions are clear, then obligations, then we will discuss what the obligations are later. First, bhogi, yogi, sannyasi, jnani. For a yogi, what is the obligation of a yogi? Karma yoga. Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. What is the obligation of the yogi? To perform karma yoga. What is the obligation of a sannyasi? Jnana yogena sankhyanam. That is his obligation. Temporarily, I would say, ignore the obligation of a sannyasi. Because that is too much too. Because as I said, he has only two obligations. What are the obligations? Moksha, serving the Guru. Now, today serving the Guru Allah is too much because either we have an infatuation or a sentimental attachment. That's all. Either it turns out to be an infatuation or an emotional, sentimental, fanatic attachment to the Guru. Not coming out of any sannyasa. So that is why I really don't talk about these two. Now, what is an obligation of a yogi? Whenever the mind and the senses draw him back to the world, he makes an effort not to get attracted by that, not to be a victim of the senses and the mind. He makes that effort. That is his obligation. Are you able to follow? Again I repeat. When he is doing an action, notes I will write later. When a person, a yogi, is one who is doing an action. When he is doing an action of yoga, of higher nature, the mind and the senses draws him back. He makes an effort to stick to the path of yoga. That is his obligation. The Sanskrit meaning of the word yoga, the definition of yoga we have seen any number of times. Yoga comes from the root word yuj, means to join, to unite. Unite with what? Unite with the higher. Unite. Yoga means union, uniting. That's all the word yoga means. Now, union with the lower or union with the higher? Union with the lower na bhoga, union with the higher na yoga. But nevertheless, there is a process of uniting. So, are you able to follow? Therefore, what is the obligation of a yogi? Yogi ki irukra obligation onnudha. The mind and the senses will draw him back. He has to fight that and make an effort to be in the path as much as possible. A yogi may slip any number of times. Yogi slips any number of times. That is part of yoga itself. Part of yoga means you will slip. Sannyasi can never slip. Sannyasi should not slip. I have become a sannyasi and I am slipping, it's in the yogi only. After reporting, if I slip, I am not a sannyasi. I am still a yogi only. Because yogi is one who slips. Any number of times he will slip. The Shastras, the Guru brings him back. Therefore, what is the obligation of a yogi? The obligation of a yogi is to keep to the path of yoga. Clear? I am not getting into the list of individual obligations. Adella different. You can't have a general definition of obligations for a yogi. You can't give a general definitions of. You can't give those general definitions because those general definitions are not applicable. That's why I am giving the very basics. Yogi is one who is making an attempt to shift from bhoga to yoga. In the process, he may slip any number of times. As many times he slips, it is okay to slip, but he continues. He is a yogi. This is the definition of a yogi. How to mature to a yogi? Every time you fight the temptations, you are maturing to be a yogi. Every time you say no to the temptations of the senses and the mind, and the little bit of effort you put, that is what maturing into a yogi means. Clear? Sannyasi is one who never gets tempted by the world anymore. That is why I said sannyasi can never fall. In the Smriti text, yogi falls any number of times, it is accepted, it is okay. But then when they say a sannyasi falling is unacceptable. Because if he is falling, if he has fallen, means what? He has assumed that he is a sannyasi when he is not yet a sannyasi. Hypocrite. That is hypocrisy. When he still has temptations to the world and the mind is still getting tempted, if he continues to believe that he is a very highly evolved stage, he is a hypocrite. So a sannyasi is one who shouldn't fall. Are you able to follow? So sannyasi, he doesn't fall at all, or there is no reason for him to fall. Why? Because he has done enough yoga and fortified and he has become strong. Therefore, for him there is no reason to fall. This is as far as the yogi and sannyasi is concerned. Yogi matures into a sannyasi. Yogi gets tempted by the world. sannyasi doesn't get worldly temptations don't bother him at all anymore. Worldly temptations ella zero aayidunale he should have become enlightened. No. That doesn't work like that. He still has to do nididhyasana, single-pointed meditation and get back to self. That is why the obligation for a sannyasi is nididhyasana matunda. For a yogi, the obligation is karma yoga, shravana manana. Mathematical formula pottukom. Obligation for a yogi, shravana manana plus karma yoga. Obligation of a sannyasi, nididhyasana, single-pointed meditation. That's why Swamiji says nobody is qualified to do meditation because only a sannyasi is fit for meditation. People in the world, they are not fit for. People who are where the mind is running behind the world and all, they are not fit for meditation. The obligation of a jnani is to do nididhyasana. The obligation of a sannyasi is to do nididhyasana. The obligation of a yogi is to do shravana manana plus karma yoga. That is why at least minimum shravana should happen. We are having these classes even though it is so new for me to look at the camera, or I don't know who I am looking at. I don't know whether somebody is looking at me or not also. But still, minimum obligation, shravana manana. For we are in the stage of being a yogi. We are in the stage of being a yogi in Radhanala. Minimum shravana manana has to be done. This is once a week. Yogi innu konja mature ana. That is why we say take up the e-learning, listen to it every day. Shravana manana has to happen every day. Weekly once nadataradalla just to give food for thought for a week. Shravana manana has to happen every day. But then you can't do 24/7 Shravana manana. Study and reflection should not exceed more than 1 hour. அதுக்கு மேல உட்கார்ந்து somebody studying அது வந்து just mere academic exercise of study. Manana cannot happen. Shravana as in listening more and more, gathering more and more information can happen. Manana will not happen. So Shravana manana is the obligation of a yogi, which is for 1 hour, 15 minutes. Rest of the time try to do karma yoga as much as possible. What is karma yoga? Karma yoga is the attitude of service and sacrifice that you bring in to that which you are already doing. Remember this. Karma yoga na udusha poi one aarambikkiradhu kedaiyadu karma yoga. Karma yoga means bringing in the attitude of service and sacrifice into that which you are already doing. At this point of time only I give this example any number of. Why it is difficult to serve those who are known to us? It is always easy to serve. It is always easy to go to an orphanage. It is always easy to serve some unknown person. Why it is difficult to serve those who are sitting at home? Are able to follow? Why? Because here we are not able to bring in the attitude of service and sacrifice to those who are known. So Karma Yoga says, bring in the attitude of service and sacrifice to those who are known to you already. Start there. That's where he says, charity begins at home. Ramatirtha. What is Karma Yoga? What is charity? He said, charity begins at home. Are you charitable to those at home first? And then expand the circle. This is how a yogi matures. After you attitude, first I need to bring in the after you attitude in my house first. and then expand it to the neighborhood, expand it to everyone. That's how I mature. But then people have misunderstood Karma Yoga, social work. Karma Yoga is not social work. That's why everybody says Karma Yoga now one day they want to stop what they are doing and go and start teaching. No? Karma Yoga nale they teach sir and the teacher foundation. Let's say in the 2 years I am taking a break and going and teaching. Karma Yoga is not that. You mature into that. What is the starting point of Karma Yoga? You bring in the attitude of service and sacrifice into those actions that you are doing already. So, Shravana, Manana and service of the attitude of service and sacrifice into the actions that you are doing already and then expanding. This is the obligation of a yogi. Obligation of a sannyasi, nididhyasana. Shastra Upanishad says the obligation of a sannyasi is nididhyasana. The Shishya who has gone to that stage says, no, I have two obligations. One is to serve the Guru who has been walking along with me tirelessly, who has been helping me with every time I fall. He is the one he has picked me up, and I have an obligation to serve him. When both are done, and other things do not exist at all for the sannyasi. That is where Vivekananda, before he became Vivekananda, when they were deciding the names, who should take whose name. Everybody said, Narendra, you should take our Guru's name, Ramakrishna's name. Everybody said, you should take that name because you are the torchbearer of the Guru and you are the one who is going to carry the message of the Guru into the world. So, you should take the Guru's name. Vivekananda said, no. I don't deserve to take his name because even as I was serving him, I had other interests also. He showed to another man and he said, this man here didn't have any other purpose in life other than serving the Guru. And he deserves to have his name. That's how he got the name Ramakrishnananda. Narendra took the name Vivekananda because Vivekananda said he is a sannyasi. Even though the whole world thinks Vivekananda, I'm not saying he is not a sannyasi. Vivekananda is also a sannyasi. But Vivekananda says Ramakrishnananda is a sannyasi. Why? Because no other pursuit other than serving the Guru, moksha. This is the obligation of a sannyasi. Now this we can have it as an ideal as of now. As of now, what we can practice? Obligation of a yogi. What is the obligation of a yogi? Two things. Shravana Manana and Karma Yoga. What does Karma Yoga mean? The attitude of service and sacrifice that you bring into the actions that you are already doing and then expand it. You don't drop this for that. You bring in the attitude of service and sacrifice here and then expand. This is the obligation of the yogi. Clear? Maturing to yogi and getting established in yoga, both are one and the same. You use the word mature. She used the word, Ranjini used the word getting mature. Mature means what? A process. Established means the process is finished. Mature, you use the word mature. Mature means what? A flower maturing to a fruit. Will you say a flower established in fruit? The flower matures to a fruit. So maturity is a process established in the lawyer doesn't tempt him anymore. I have already explained it. The lawyer doesn't tempt him anymore. Then he is established in yoga. One who gets established in yoga completely, instantaneously turns into a jnani. Not sannyasi, not yogi. A person who is matured in yoga completely. Who is matured in yoga completely, I know sonna. What is the definition? He is no more tempted by world. A person who is not 0% tempted by the world and who wants only moksha, he turns into a sannyasi. Yogi matures into a sannyasi. Sannyasi matures into a self-realized person.
One is established in yoga. Yogi matures to
sannyasi.
So established in yogi now is turns to sannyasi.
Correct. Is it okay to everyone? Are you all able to hear? Yeah. Clear? Yogi matures into a sannyasi. Think about the obligation. The maturing process is what I explained. The mind and the senses tempt him. He fights it. That's how he gets mature. That is the process. The mind and the senses and the mind draws him down. He fights that. That is called that is the spiritual fight. That is the spiritual path. அதுக்கு டெம்ப்ட் ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறமா I want to pursue the spiritual path in a meaning. I can't fall for it and then come and ask. When I'm falling for it, I should fight. When I'm falling for it, I should fight. Then only it is the process of maturity. Seriya? This is how it happens. Is it okay? Pastor, I'm going to the verse now.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Verse number 20. Having renounced attachment to fruit of action, ever content, depending on nothing, he does not do anything though he is engaged in action. He is talking about an enlightened person. Enlightened person, how does an enlightened person act? He has renounced attachment to the fruit of action. Nitya triptaha. Mind பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் திருப்தின்றதே வராது. That is why Swamiji's lecture topic. When is enough? Enough. The question that you have, when is enough for? The mind will never know. Mind can never know what tripti is. What tripti is. Depending on nothing. Mind is that which is always dependent on something. Depending on what? Depending on name, fame, power, position, wealth, status, family. Mind is dependent on all this. He is not dependent on anything. He does not do anything. This is a beautiful lesson. Abhipravrittaha. The Sanskrit word is abhipravrittaha. Abhipravrittaha, he is dynamically engaged in action. He is dynamically doing something and yet understand it as not doing. He does not do anything though he is engaged in action. He never stops acting, but his actions do not affect him or taint him. Again I repeat. A self-realized master, a wise man, never ceases to act. He never stops acting. He is acting 24. He is acting 24/7. He never stops action, but his actions do not affect him or change him. Therefore he says, though doing, I am not doing anything. In the way that we do an action, we are affected. In the way that an ignorant person does an action, is affected by action, is tainted by action. Now what happens? What is affectation means? Affectation means affected by the fruit. Affectation means affected by the fruit. Taint means vasana, desires. The taint of action is vasanas and desires. Affectation means not affected by the fruit. Though engaged in action, he is not doing anything. This is verse number 20 which we have seen. Now I am moving to verse number 21. Chanting will not happen. I'll just read the verse and we'll go into I'll read the verse and I'll go into the explanation. Nirashiryata chittatma yatta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvanapnoti kilbisham. Verse number 21. Another beautiful verse. Nirashiryata chittatma yatta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvanapnoti kilbisham. Hoping for nothing, with mind and body controlled, having relinquished all possessions, doing mere bodily action, he incurs no sin. Verse number 21, chapter 4. Verse number 21, chapter 4. Because quite a few people have joined in newly and they may not know which chapter we are in. We are in chapter 4, verse number 21. We are going to study now. Nirashiryata chittatma yasta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvanapnoti kilbisham. Shariram kevalam karma. Kevalam karma shariram. He does bodily actions. Though he is doing, though he is doing, kilbisham na apnoti. Kilbisham na apnoti means he does not incur any sin. One of the powerful statements in the entire Bhagavad Gita is this. Though killing, you don't incur sin, Arjuna. Though killing, you don't incur sin. So, though you are acting, you will not be bound by the consequences of the action. This is the most extraordinary powerful statement. In the normal world, in the normal sense, you do an action, you will be bound by the consequences of the action. Here he says, kevalam shariram karma kurvan apnoti kilbisham. Doing bodily action, he incurs no sin. What is shariram kevalam karma means? He says, the body perform actions and I am not the body. Mind experiences emotions and I am not the mind. The intellect experiences various kinds of ideas and ideologies, it entertains various kinds of thoughts, but I am not the intellect. So he says, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. Who is doing the actions then? The instruments are doing the actions. The instruments do their respective actions. Body does the respective action of whatever it is. The mind does the respective action of whatever it is. The intellect will do the respective action of whatever it is. The intellect will do the respective action of whatever it is. I have nothing to do with it. Why? Because my identification is with the self. I have become the Sakshi. He performs action as a Sakshi. He performs action as a witness. He doesn't perform action as a doer. He doesn't perform action as an enjoyer. He doesn't have these two things of kartrutva and bhoktrutva. The doership is not there. Enjoyership is also not there. There is no doer. There is no kartrutva. There is no bhoktrutva. Shariram kevalam karma na kilbisham. Na apnoti kilbisham. He does not incur any apnoti na obtains. Obtains. Sin என்றதே அவருக்கு வராது. Sin means agitation. Sin means agitation. He is not an agitated person. Something in him is so detached from everything that he remains unaffected. He remains unaffected. Therefore, virashiriyata chittatma yatta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma urvan apnoti kilbisham. Having relinquished all possessions, time and again we keep repeating it. Relinquished all possessions and being in, relinquished all possessions and yet being in it. The example of King Janaka and others. See, today, it's very, we have gone far away from the real understanding of renunciation at all. That is why the concept of renunciation today means the fellow who has left everything. Physically leaving everything and separating himself from that is what we see as. We see a physical leaving and a physical separation. We are not able to understand the mental leaving and the mental separation. So who is a sannyasi? A sannyasi is one who has left things mentally. He is distanced himself mentally, not physically. Today's concept of, today's misunderstanding of sannyasa is exactly the opposite. A physical separation and physically he is separated from everything. Physically he moves away from everything. Relinquished all possessions as in a Janaka. Because whether you like it or not, whether you like it or not, as long as you are embodied, you have to have possessions. Are you able to follow? As long as you are embodied, you have to have some possession, no? At least you will have begging bowl as a possession, no? As in the Bhagavad, he said, the person leaves everything and he gets attached to the begging bowl. Therefore, embodied, as long as you are embodied, you can never be free from possession. At least you need to have a pair of clothing. At least you may not build a house, but at least you will go and hide inside a cave. And that cave becomes your possession. So as long as you are embodied, you can never be free from possession in contacting them. But you need not be mentally possessive. That's where having relinquished all possessions. Again I repeat, as an embodied, you need to have possessions. And possessions themselves do not cause harm or disturbance. Possessions themselves do not cause harm. Possessions themselves do not cause disturbance. Then what is it? The sense of possessiveness. What he has renounced? He has not renounced the possession. He has renounced the sense of possessiveness. What does possessiveness mean? Possessiveness is an imaginary notion that my happiness comes only through this. இதெல்லாம் இருந்தாதான் I can be happy. இதெல்லாம் இல்லைன்னா I will be disturbed. Therefore, I cling on to this. This is called possessiveness. Clear? Possessions don't come and bind yourself. Possessions don't come and bind itself to you. For example, you leave the phone here, அது அங்கேதான் இருக்கும். நான் தான் அதை தேடி தேடி வரும். Possessions don't, the objects don't seek me. I seek the object. Why a person seeks the object? Because of his dependency on it. Yeah, dependency on it. Where they just can't be without it. Because when you say without it, they feel something in them is gone. They feel something inside. They feel a sense of loss inside. They feel something is forcefully, உடம்புல ஏதோ பிச்சு எடுத்த மாதிரி they feel. So what is possessiveness? Possessions themselves are not the problem. Janaka goes to the extremity of saying you can have enormous wealth. Like Ajatashatru, the king tells in the Upanishad, Ajatashatru, the king is the teacher. He tells the person there, you don't know what sannyas is. Only I know what sannyas is. Meaning, in it and not in it. In it and not in it. Idada morning, noon and night we are supposed to say. And if a person says this morning, noon and night, he gets free. It is called, popular name for this is Mahamrityunjaya Mantra. The popular name for it is Mahamrityunjaya Mantra. The technical name, the orthodox name is Bhasmadharana Mantra. But both means the same. Trayambakam yajamahe suvandim pushtivardhanam urvarugamiva bandhanat mrityor mukshiyamamrita. Like a urvarugam, I am touching and still not touching. Shankaracharya says, Padmapatra Ivambasa. Like the water on the lotus leaf. In it, but not in it. That is what is relinquished all possessions. Hoping for nothing. Nirashi. Carefully understand this, sir. The definition of desire. Asha. The Sanskrit word is Nirasha. Nirashi is it. Sandhi pirikum போது நீஹி plus ஆஷா. ஆஷா. அதே நம்ம தமிழ்ல சொல்லும்போது என்ன சொல்றோம்? ஆசைன்னு சொல்றோம். So, look at the definition. Extraordinary definition. So, what is a desire? Desire is a hope. That's why he says, Nirashihi na, he didn't say no desire. He said, hoping for nothing. Now, what is that hope? What is desire? Desire is nothing but a hope for happiness. Desire is nothing but a hope for happiness. இது இருந்தா I'll be happy ன்றதுதான் a hope for happiness. Nirashihi. He doesn't have that. He understands it very clearly that his happiness is not dependent upon anything else. So, that's why I always say, desire means a hope for happiness. Desire is nothing but a hope for happiness. Desire is nothing but a hope for happiness. Where does it come? Verse number 21. Nirashihi, without hope. Hope for what? Hope for happiness. Yata chittatma, mind and body controlled. Yakta sarva parigraha, having relinquished all possessions. Shariram kevalam karma, doing merely bodily action. He incurs no sin. Kurvanna na apnoti kilbisham. Kurvanna means doing. He is doing. Though doing, he doesn't incur anything. It's like telling Arjuna, that's why it is like telling Arjuna, though you kill Arjuna, you will not incur sin. Because Arjuna's problem is, Gora karma this is. You are driving me into this Gora karma, Krishna. I will incur sin. எனக்கு பாபம் வந்துராத, he is up. இது பண்ணா எனக்கு பாபம் வந்துராத, he is saying, no, பண்ணலன்னாதான், இது பண்றதுனால உனக்கு பாபம் வராது, இது பண்ணாத ஒட்டினாதான் உனக்கு பாபம் வருது. How? Shariram kevalam karma, kurvan apnoti kilbisham. In the attitude order you have to fight. If you fight with this attitude, you will not incur sin. Worldly, selfish people, they incur mental agitation and they develop desires. Two mistakes. One is mental agitations because of the expectations, the fruit not coming, adalla. Second problem is desires for the future. So the way in a selfish person acts is agitated now, he will be agitated in the future. A wise man, Shariram kevalam karma kurvan apnoti kilbisham, though he is acting, he doesn't incur any sin. Why he doesn't incur any sin? Because he has developed the right knowledge, the right understanding. What is the right knowledge and understanding? The instruments do their respective action and I have nothing to do with this. I meaning the self. Because he has identified with the self, because he has identified with the ultimate, he says, he moves away from the bodily actions and says, I have nothing to do. Now I read the verse again. Nirashir yata chittatma yakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvan apnoti kilbisham. Hoping for nothing, without hope, hopeless person. He has no hope for, without hope, hopeless alpolar. No. He has no that hope for happiness. Hope for happiness implies you are agitated now. A happy person will not have hope for happiness. So he says, hope for wealth he is poor now. Hope for happiness he is agitated now. This man says, I am happy now. So what is the hope for? Anna sir, in the happiness of future, therefore, he has no. Okay sir, it is there today. But tungi enda if it goes, sir. No, it will not go that way also. He has no hope. With mind and body control. Mind and body control we have seen any number of times. If I am not explaining, what is that mind and body control? Yata chittatma, yakta sarva parigraha, having relinquished all possessions, shariram kevalam karma, kurvan apnoti kilbisham. Doing bodily action, he incurs no sin. சரியா? மாஸ்டர், பாஸ், கிளாஸை முடிச்சுக்கலாமா பாஸ்? நீங்க தான் சொல்லணும், நான் முடிச்சிட்டேன். ஏன்னா இப்ப எல்லா கண்ட்ரோலும் அவர் கையில இருக்குது. அவர் தான் எப்போ வரணும்னு டிசைட் பண்றாரு, எப்போ போகணும்னு டிசைட் பண்றாரு. அதனால we conclude for today. The next session we will notify the group. சரியா?
Sir, can I ask one question, sir?
Yes, Bharat. Yes.
Sorry, last minute.
No problem.
How do you define happiness? As in, for me, the happiness is not thinking or not hoping for the fruit of action.
Yes.
Or is that the way you define happiness in this context?
Yes. Bharat is asking, how do you define happiness in this context? Happiness in this context is, Bharat, a state of fulfillment already. Acting out of fulfillment, not hoping to get fulfillment at the end of the action. A fulfillment that drives the action is what? Happiness in this context. Are you able to follow? Happiness in this context is a sense of fulfillment that drives the action, not fulfillment that is going to come as a product of action. Therefore, you can say, in this context, happiness means not dependent on the fruit of action. You can say, not dependent on fruit of action. Second is, not even dependent on doing itself. அதுவும் வரணும் இல்லையா? ஐயோ என்னால பண்ண முடியலன்னு ஒரு அஜிடேஷன் வந்துருச்சுன்னா அன்ஃபுல்ஃபில்மெண்ட் தானே.
Exactly. Suppose that was more my question.
Correct.
If I am not able to do.
Yes. If I am not able to do na, ஐயோ ஜூம்ல கூட வந்து என்னால பேச முடியலன்னு if I am agitated for 10 days na, it is the same thing. Whether I am not affected by the result of the action, under some circumstances, if I am not able to do, that not doing also doesn't disturb my mental state. So, not do, rendu sendada it is. So, you have to combine both.
Yes, sir.
Did you get it, Bharat?
Yes, I get. I'm not completely got it. I will try to get that because I have to do some more introspection on it.
Yes.
The other action was the question was more to this particular verse and the previous verse where you are saying engaged in action.
Yeah.
So the question was, if I'm not able to do anything now, and I'm in whatever way or means, how do I get engaged in action? The point is, how do I get? Then I'm not doing any action. Then again I get no fulfillment, etc. So I'm trying to see the relationship between the previous words, engagement and action, and this verse.
Yes, correct. Now, in verse number 20, when he said he is engaging in action, means in him there is always that attitude of wanting to be in action all the time. At any, not even for a split second, he wants to say, I have done enough. He doesn't want, he will not say that. He is always in that continuous spirit of wanting to act. That's what is meant by go engaged in action. Though, physically sometimes he may not be able to perform action. Like for example, let us say, I meet with an accident and I am bedridden for 2 months. I need not be agitated about that, no? If I am agitated about that means, I am dependent on action. இன்னைக்கு நான் கிளாஸ் எடுத்தாவே எனக்கு திருப்தி இருக்கும் அப்படின்னா my attachment is to this action. இன்னைக்கு நான் கிளாஸ் எடுக்கலன்னு ஐயோ நான் கிளாஸ் எடுக்கலன்னு I'm getting agitated and disturbed inside. My attachment is to this action. So this unfulfillment somehow drives me to do this action.
Correct, sir.
ஒன்னும் இல்லைன்னா கூட உங்களுக்கு வாட்ஸ்அப்ல ஒரு காலை போட்டு ஃப்ரீயா இருக்கேன் பரத் கேன் வி டாக்னு கேட்பேன் கொஞ்ச நேரம் கழிச்சு. I am dependent. அந்த craving இருக்கக்கூடாது. A craving for doing is not there. Because situations in life sometimes will put me in a situation where I will not be able to do it, but I am okay with it.
Yes.
Then comes the next verse, he incurs no sin. So, Pandlanalum he is not agitated, Pandalum he is not agitated.
Right. Either way. Correct, either way. அதாவது என்ன ஆயிடும் அப்படின்னா பண்லன்னு அஜிடேஷன் வந்துடும் நினைச்சுக்குவோம். பண்லன்னு அஜிடேஷன் வருதோ இல்லையா? ஜாஸ்தி அதுதான் வரும்.
கரெக்ட். ஓ கரெக்ட். He feels more. பண்ண முடியலன்றதுதான் brings a greater agony and pain. Yes, in his case, he says, for whatever reasons I am not able to, but in me, deep inside you have the attitude of wanting to be in action all the time. Therefore, you are not agitated. Like you get into time, you take care of everything and get into a car and you want to go for a meeting. You are time conscious, you are doing everything and you are going. Right in the middle of the flyover, if there is a truck that is break down and the whole traffic is jammed, you will not be agitated sitting inside the car for that extra few minutes. Yes, sir.
Wonderful example. That is exactly the point I was. So you are going for some action. There is always something that happens,
yes,
and you are not able to perform that action.
Correct.
The agitation that causes that particular in that state of mind is so intense.
Correct.
That is where you start getting the next level of desires, right?
Correct.
Because I am feeling, oh God, what should I do? What should I do? I think, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
What Bharat is saying is, I gave this example, no? That's his exact question. Exact question is that, though I have planned everything to do, I am time conscious, I am disciplined person, I want to do everything, I have taken 15 minutes extra also, and I got into the car. As I am going over the flyover, a container truck broke down and traffic is jammed. I need not sit inside the car agitated, fuming and fussing and crossing and fuming. Because I am not able to do that action of having to go to meeting on time, no. So even if I am not able to go on time, still I will be at peace. Because I have done everything that I could do, and still there is an extra core that prevents me from doing what I can. Are you able to follow? Bharat, okay, what?
Wonderful example, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bharat. Yeah.
Sir, one Mr. Vasudevan has got a question. One Mr. Vasudevan. Yes.
What is that question?
This is Anba from Seawood, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, I don't know why I came up with this question as you are talking, but
yeah.
My question is, why is it mind appreciate something in its absence and not able to appreciate when it is there?
Yeah. The question is, why is it the mind appreciates something when it is not? Why is it the mind appreciates when something is not there, and when it is there, it tends to ignore? This Anbu is the classic state of the mind that is attached. This is because of the mind's attachment. When you are attached to something, when the object is not there, you will miss the object. When the person is not there, you will miss the person. But when the person is there, there is a friction, there is a fight, there is a frustration. This is because of, this is the mind's, this is the typical quality of the attachment of the mind.
Thank you, sir.
When the person is there, I am fighting. When the person leaves the town, I start missing, no? That's what you are saying.
Yeah.
Look, we tend to ignore, bother, we don't pay attention. Same person when goes to the other place, we start thinking all that because of, this is what we call as the attachment of the mind. This is because of the typical nature of the mind which is to get attached. Is it okay, Amber?
Yeah, this is fine, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Yes. 1 minute. And Ganesh, is there anything else? Avalodana?
Nothing available here, sir. Nothing available here.
Okay, right. Okay. One more. The last one I take and I conclude. Yes. Yeah.
And we don't interpret Abhidharma and Pratyavara.
Yes.
They have wisdom.
Yes.
Those two things are not the way to Pratyavara. இது அதே மாதிரி அந்த மைண்ட் மென்டல் எமோஷன்ஸ் பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் பார்த்தாலும் பண்ணல.
The question that Ranjana is asking is, in the example that I gave to Bharat, whether you do or you don't do, your mental equanimity is the same. Is it somehow connected to verse number 41 of chapter 2? Neha vitramanashote pratyevayo na vidyate svalpamukyasya dharmasya. Is this example anyway connected to that verse? That's the question. The answer is no. Don't connect it. That is a separate concept. This is a separate concept. What I was telling Bharat is a state where your mental happiness is neither dependent on doing or not doing. Even while you are doing it with happiness, dedication, sincerity. When you are not doing, you are not a disturbed, agitated. You don't sit agitated. Because you have been very sincere, you have been dedicated, but there are some external force that comes in. There is an external force that may stop. That's why I gave this example. From his side, from your side, you do everything. You are well on time. You have taken 15 minutes of craft exam into consideration and all that, and you go. But you never took into consideration the stationary jam. You can only consider the moving traffic. You can't say suddenly, what I will do now, you have to go 1 day in advance. Then we go into insanity. So you take into consideration all the necessary factors. You have been very dedicated and sincere. In spite of all that, at times, carefully follow, at times, this will not happen every day. At times, you may not be able to do, but still he remains unaffected by it. He incurs no sin. Doing or no doing, he incurs no sin. Yeah. Is it okay? Yes. Bhaskar.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Shall we conclude, sir?
Yes, we'll conclude. Though I said 1 hour, I thought I will find it more smart. Compared to yesterday morning and today, it's a slight improvement in looking at the machine and talking it.
So voice is getting distorted today. Bhaskar's voice is getting distorted in the tail end.
Okay, because of continuity. Long
tail end. The technique is okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I found it very clear. There was no issue. I received.
Right, Master. We will conclude for today.
Okay.
And the next one, what is the next session I am going to do? How I am going to do that? We'll put it in the. I'll tell you, and we'll put it in the group.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hari Om.